Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 9 based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng sat there drinking, not caring about the vice president of the Blood Python Society at all. After coming to the continent of origin and secluding himself for more than a century, on the one hand, his perfect divine body had completely grown to its peak, and on the other hand, he had initially practiced many secret techniques, transforming his potential into strength to a certain extent. It was no longer like when he was fighting with Hei Duomo, where he just used the life and death sword over and over again. Now Luo Feng was itching to fight a stronger opponent. Among all the forces in the entire Huyang city, the powerful masters are the top ones from the 5 major families, the leaders of the 19 dark forces, some leaders of the Huyang city branches of some super forces, or some secluded old monsters. Luo Feng preliminarily identified the opponents who were strong enough based on the information given by his good friend Yen Qianyang. Those opponents gave Luo Feng enough fighting spirit. The vice president of the Blood Python Society, Lio, how powerful can he be as just a vice president of a dark force? Lord Luo, let the vice president come to visit you in person. The Blood Python Society member was trembling with fear. He was afraid that when he reported it, the vice president would get angry with him. Luo Feng looked into the distance through the palace door. Your vice president has heard it clearly. If the formation of the Blue Star Palace blocked the sound, it would be difficult for the outside world to spy on him. But Luo Feng did not hide it. The formation of the Blue Star Palace was wide open, and everything he said, as long as the eternal true God who was paying attention here could see and hear it. Yes, I'll take my leave. The members of the Blood Python Society were terrified and left quickly. The green-clad waiters and Arroyo in the hall were also extremely nervous. Your Excellency. The green-clad waiter transmitted the message, Vice President Lio is violent and tyrannical. If Your Excellency bullies him like this, he will definitely not tolerate it. Is this called bullying? Luo Feng raised his glass with a smile. You still don't quite understand. At the 100 Flowers banquet, the president of the Blood Python Association, Lu Yang, and the vice president, Lio, were sitting next to each other. They didn't pay much attention to what was happening outside. But the many messages sent by Duan Moyun made them both a little angry. If something like this happened in Menghua Tower, it would definitely spread in Huyang City. The president and vice president were in Menghua Tower. If they pretended not to see it, when it spread out, they would just think that their blood python was afraid. The Blood Python Society is one of the 19 dark forces in Huyang City. The reason why the dark forces are so overbearing and tyrannical is because of their strength. Without strength, they are not qualified to control those territories. After all, he is an eternal true God. You can talk to him and resolve this small matter. President Liu Yang said. Okay, I'll take care of it. Vice President Lio then ordered his men to pass on the message. While the message was being passed on, the two of them naturally watched from a distance. Menghua Tower Master, Yen Qianyang, and several other eternal true gods who were interested also paid some attention. Luo Feng Lunching Palace did not have any formation to block the sound, so they could see everything clearly. If you want to see me, come to me in person. There is no reason for me to visit him. The eternal true gods who were paying close attention heard Luo Feng's words. It's wonderful. Interesting. Don't give the blood python any face at all. These eternal true gods were surprised and happy. They didn't want to fight to the death, but seeing other eternal true gods fighting to the death was more fun than the 100 Flowers banquet. This strange eternal true god is extremely flamboyant. The president and vice president of the Blood Python Society are both here, but he doesn't even give them face. The Blood Python Society has taken root in Huyang City for a long time. If we tolerate this, we will become a laughing stock in the entire Huyang City. So the Blood Python Society can't tolerate this. We must take action. Several eternal true gods who noticed this were looking at the two people from the Blood Python Society. President Liu Yang and Vice President Lio both looked unhappy. President. Limo's bloodshot eyes were filled with ferocity. We can't tolerate this. If we tolerate it, we will be ridiculed by the entire Huyang city. We don't have a strong background like the 5 major families. President Lio said softly, the Blood Python Society's territory was gained through fighting. The reputation of the Dark Forces was also gained through fighting. Since he is so disrespectful, let's see how capable he is. I'll go check out his background. Limo stood up. I want to see where the confidence of a fool who can't even withstand an illusion comes from. Don't be careless when facing any eternal true God. President Lio warned. Rest assured. Limo walked straight out. Vice President Limo, everyone is invited to my 100 Flowers banquet, said the owner of Menghua Tower. Don't worry about this matter, OP. Vice President Limo's hair was glowing with a terrifying luster, and his aura was spreading. He walked directly towards the direction of the lunching palace. In just a few steps, he crossed the long distance and arrived in front of the palace. The owner of Menghua Tower had no choice but to follow suit when she saw the 2 eternal true gods clashing. After all, this was her Menghua Tower. How could she just watch it? My new acquaintance, Brother Luo He, is extremely ferocious. I dare not provoke the Blood Python Society, but he dares to ignore me like this. Yan Qianyang was very surprised. The 19 Dark Forces all gained their reputation through killing, which made the City Lord's mansion quite fearful. After all, Bai Wujuan is also a member of the Dark Forces, and he knows very well how powerful the Blood Python Society is. The Blood Python Society is not easy to mess with. Wonderful. This is more interesting than the 100 Flowers banquet. The 2 eternal true gods of the Tsumeng royal family were truly excited. These dark forces are not easy to mess with. Let's see the consequences if this eternal true god provokes the Blood Python Society. Although they both have high status, they are also wary of the Blood Python Society. Dark forces generally don't have a strong background, but their strength is terrifying. At one moment, more than a dozen eternal true gods looked towards the lunching palace from afar, and the master of Menghua Tower followed closely. Inside the lunching palace, the green-clad waiter and Aluya were standing in a corner, extremely nervous. Something big is going to happen. Yu Luo, the waitress in green, was very panicked. Based on her experience living in Huyang City so far, if someone dared to blatantly humiliate the Blood Python Society, the Blood Python Society would definitely take action. For me? Aluya was worried and blamed herself. She also knew that at this point, she was no longer important. Here they come. Morosa in the corner looked outside the temple with shining eyes. Luo Feng, however, was still sitting there leisurely drinking. Vice President Limo appeared outside the palace gate, a terrifying aura spreading across his body. He stared at Luo Feng with bloodshot eyes and grinned. Didn't Lord Luo He ask me to come visit you in person? Here I come. If you have something to say, please say it quickly. Luo Feng continued to pour himself a glass of wine, not even bothering to look at him. Vice President Limo saw this and laughed angrily. The owner of Menghua Tower, who also arrived, saw this and knew that he could not stop it at all. I heard that you are very arrogant. You don't take the Moli clan, Menghua Tower, and my Blood Python Association seriously. I still wanted to resolve this matter, but who would have thought that you are even crazier than I expected? Vice President Limo shook his head. You should know that things have come to this point, and it is not so easy to resolve. I will give you one last chance to apologize and beg for mercy. Hand over 10,000 cosmic sands as an apology, and our Blood Python Association will not care. Otherwise, he. The murderous intent in Vice President Limo's eyes became more intense. The high domo that Luo Feng killed originally had only a little more than 10,000 cosmic sands of treasures on his body. The poorer new eternal true gods cannot afford so much. 10,000 cosmic sands, that's more than enough. Forcing Luo Feng to hand over so much, the Blood Python Society naturally had enough face. Stop talking nonsense. Luo Feng held up the wine glass and said softly, either do it directly or get out of here. Vice President Limo was stunned. All the eternal true gods who were watching from afar were somewhat confused. This newly emerged eternal true god, Lio, he was really too fierce. Such a fierce and domineering eternal true god was still rare in Huyang City. Normal eternal true gods are more cautious and will not act rashly. Okay. Vice President Lio stretched out his right hand, and a black scepter appeared. Instantly, Vice President Lio's aura suddenly burst out, and his divine power was already burning. After all, Luo Feng was so disrespectful, which made Vice President Lio extremely alert. The first move he made was his most proud move. Except for not revealing his true identity, Vice President Lio has completely exploded. Smash it! Vice President Lio waved the black scepter, which seemed to split the chaos, and in an instant it appeared in front of Luo Feng with the terrifying prospect of smashing everything. In terms of strength and skills, Vice President Lio is almost as bad as Haidomo. But Luo Feng is no longer the Luo Feng who had just arrived at the origin continent. Snort. Luo Feng gently waved his left hand, his palm was like a knife, and he performed the life and death knife. When his palm touched the black scepter that could crush everything, Luo Feng's perfect divine body, which had undergone a body refining and grown to its peak, burst out completely through his palm. Huh? Vice President Lio's bloodshot eyes widened instantly. He only felt an unparalleled power crushing over him. The black scepter turned over and hit his body, and a flash of knife light swept across Vice President Lio's body. Vice President Lio's body could not be blocked at all, the cycle of life and death continued, and the sword light pierced through his body. Stop! The Blood Python Association's president, Mu Yang, who was watching the fight from a distance, was shocked, but he was too late to rescue. After all, the eternal true god level fought in an instant, it was too fast. Luo Feng was still sitting in the same place, holding a glowing heart of the true god in his left hand. A confrontation. Luo Feng got hold of Vice President Lio's heart of the true god. Mercy, mercy. The face of Vice President Lio appeared on the surface of the true god's heart. He was terrified and begged for mercy repeatedly. The black scepter and some of the treasures flew in front of Luo Feng. Luo Feng fiddled with his right hand for a few times and shook his head gently, still quite poor. The stunned owner of Menghua Tower quickly said, Lord Loha, please show mercy. You are all honored guests of Menghua Tower. I'll give you face. Luo Feng put away the spoils while looking at the heart of the true god in his left hand. Vice President Lio, I'll also give you one last chance. Take out 20,000 cosmic sands as compensation, and I'll spare your life. I am very merciful. Your weapons and treasures are also included in the amount. You only need to pay an additional 12,000 cosmic sands. Hand it over and you will live. If you don't, you can't blame me. Luo Feng looked at the true god's heart in his palm. At this moment, the other eternal true gods participating in the 100 Flowers banquet all felt invisible pressure, and some even felt that their true god hearts were trembling. At this moment, they also realized, a terrifying character had come to Huyang City. I'll hand it over. I'll hand it over. The true god's heart in Luo Feng's palm made a sound, and the face of Vice President Lio that appeared on its surface was full of anxiety and panic. The dignity of the strong is all bullshit at this moment. Vice President Li Guang doesn't want to die at all. Where is the supplementary cosmic sand? Luo Feng asked. It's with the president, it's with the president. The Vice President Li Fei, who appeared on the surface of the true god's heart, shouted anxiously, President, President. His voice contained the eternal true god level power and naturally spread far away. If it weren't for the magic shields everywhere in Menghua Tower, the scope of transmission would be much larger. A black-scaled figure has arrived outside the gate of Lanqing Palace. It is Mi Yang, the president of the Blood Python Society. As the leader of a dark force, Mi Yang was covered in black armor, but his aura seemed ordinary. However, those who were well-informed knew that the president of the Blood Python Association, Mi Yang, was one of the top figures in Chiang City, with unfathomable strength. Even the city lord's mansion had suffered losses at his hands. I'll pay the 12,000 cosmic sands. Please let my brother go. The Blood Society's president, Ranch, smiled and said, and the scepter weapon, my Blood Python Society also needs to redeem it. Please make an offer. The president of the Blood Python Society is quite straightforward. Luo Feng held the true god's heart in his left hand and waved it casually, and a scepter flew out. This scepter is counted as 6,000 cosmic sands. Brother Luo, he returned the weapon before I gave him the cosmic sand. I admire you so much. Mi Yang, the president of the Blood Society, praised with a smile. The president can fully foresee the consequences of not giving the cosmic sand. This is 18,000 cosmic sands. A black bottle appeared in the hands of the Blood Python Association's president. The black bottle flew to Luo Feng. Luo Feng swept it with his divine power and confirmed that it was indeed an accurate 18,000 frequency, not a single more or a single less. Luo Feng took the black bottle with his right hand and swung his left hand. The heart of the true god turned into a stream of light and flew into the body of Vice President Lio. Vice President Lio quickly recovered and stood up, looking at Luo Feng with fear in his eyes. During the negotiation between the two sides, the other eternal true gods were reluctant to speak up. After all, if something unexpected happened, they were afraid that it would affect them. I really admire Brother Luo, his strength. It is only right that I compensate Brother Luo he with 20,000 cosmic sands. The Blood Society's President Shou Yang said, "We will go to the 100 Flowers banquet today first." After saying that, the president of the Blood Python Society walked straight out, followed by Vice President Lio. The owner of Menghua Tower could only watch from the side. Luo Feng looked at the black bottle in his hand. This president is quite tolerant. Luo Feng thought, among the more than 10 eternal true gods participating in the 100 Flowers banquet this time, at least from the information he knew, the most terrifying and richest one should be the Blood Python Society's president, Branch. Although the two eternal true gods of the Tsumeng royal family have high status, there are more than 10 eternal true gods of the Tsumeng royal family in Huyang City. The secret methods they practice consume a lot of resources. How many resources can they have left? However, the Blood Python Society has a president who holds all the power and has long exploited the practitioners of all races in Huyang City, so the accumulated wealth is naturally huge. Lord Luohe, the owner of Menghua Tower, came over. It's not suitable to stay any longer tonight, Master Menghua Tower. I'll take my leave first. Luo Feng stood up. Those eternal true gods were looking at him from afar, and he could not continue to listen to the music. Luo Feng then left with Morosa, and the owner of Menghua Tower could only follow them and said, "Don't worry, Lord God, we at Menghua Tower will take good care of Luoya in the future." The owner of Menghua Tower was indeed a little nervous. There was no other way. As long as she had seen how Luo Feng captured Vice President Mo's true god's heart with one move, she couldn't help but be nervous. This Luohe god is too powerful. Menghua Tower Master watched Luo Feng and the others leave. He should be one of the top few in Huyang City, but why did he lose control under my illusion? Tonight's 100 Flowers banquet is really colorful. In this conflict, the Blood Moment Society finally gave in. The two eternal true gods of the Chu Meng clan stood up and laughed. Whether it was Luo Feng's move or the Blood Python Society's President Mi Yang's obedient compensation, they felt it was very exciting. The leader of a dark force bowed his head and paid compensation? How rare is that? The strength of Lord Luohe is truly terrifying. He lost control in the illusion before. Was it because of a mental defect, or was he losing control on purpose? These eternal true gods stood up one by one. They had no intention of continuing to attend the banquet. Luo, his strength is above mine. Bai Wujuan said silently, President Blood Python is extremely powerful, but he endured it. As a member of the dark forces of Huyang City, Bai Wujuan is of course aware of the terrifying nature of the Blood Python Guild leader. If the 6 eternal true gods of the 6 Lords Alliance are similar in strength, they can only be so powerful if they unite. Then the Blood Society is mainly the strength of the Blood Python president alone. The 2 vice presidents are much inferior. The eternal true gods flew away one by one, either discussing or worried. Only the 2 eternal true gods, Yan Qianyang and Sang Shuiyun, who were obsessed with the owner of Menghua Tower, remained there. My new acquaintance, Brother Luo, he is extremely strong. Yen Chenyang exclaimed. He was willing to drink with me before and acknowledged me as his friend. With his strength, how could he lose control in an illusion? The feather man Sang Shuayun looked confused. An eternal true God may have a weak will. But such a powerful eternal true God cannot have a weak will. Yes, whether it is to refine the blood of exotic beasts or practice powerful secret methods, it requires extremely strong will. Yen Chenyang said. But he just lost control. Sang Shuayun said. You and I saw it. Yen Chenyang was startled and nodded. Yes, he did lose control just now. I can't figure it out. Sang Shuayun's eyes were full of confusion. Sometimes, losing control is not necessarily because the illusion is too strong. Yen Chenyang said, it may also be because he actively immerses himself in it. Actively immerse himself in it? Sang Shuayun looked at Yen Chenyang. Is there something he pursues in the illusion? Yen Chenyang looked at the owner of Menghua Tower flying from a distance. His eyes immediately lit up, and he quickly shouted. Master! Sang Shuayun's eyes also softened when he looked at the owner of Menghua Tower. The Blood Python Society headquarters. This time, our Blood Python Club is so embarrassed that we were suppressed by a newly emerged eternal true God. Even the president has to apologize in person. A lone figure couldn't help but say. He was Mu Wen, another vice president of the Blood Python Club. This happened in Menghua Tower, and so many eternal true gods saw it. It will spread to all forces in Yingyang City overnight. Vice President Lio and President Liu Yang were both very quiet. Lio, is he really that powerful? He can take away your true god's heart with just one move. Vice President Mu Shong asked. How could I fake such a thing? Vice President Lio became angry and embarrassed. All right. The ranch president looked out the window and said, this matter ends here. Vice President Mu Lin looked at his fellow tribesmen in surprise. We are just going to let this Luo he who came out of nowhere keep suppressing our Blood Python Society? We can't tolerate an ordinary eternal true God slapping us in the face, Ranch said calmly, but if we can take out the eternal true God's heart of the demon vice president with one move, we won't lose face if we bow our heads and endure it. Mi Yang looked out the window, and I can see that he is waiting for me to make a move. The enemy is in the dark, and I am in the light. He knows a lot of information about me, but I know nothing about him. Of course I can't make a move. Wait until I know his background. Ranch's eyes were cold. I will make him pay the price. There were more than 10 eternal true gods who witnessed this conflict. Word spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100. All the slightly more informed forces in Yingyang City received detailed intelligence on this conflict tonight. All forces also remembered the name, Luo He. Inside a small building of Yangfeng Hall. This Luo He is really interesting. The owner of Yangfeng Pavilion looked at the latest information. Listening to the music of Menghua Pavilion Master, the illusion was out of control, but he turned around and took the true god heart of the vice president of the Blood Python Association without using any secret treasure or weapon. The grey mist figure who was sorting out the information beside him said calmly, he made the move in front of the Blood Python Association's President Mu Yang. Obviously, he was ready to have a good fight with President Mu Yang. But Mu Fan endured it and bowed his head. Uncle, who do you think is stronger between the two of them? Asked Pavilion Master Yang Feng curiously. Too many forces are coveting the Blood Python Society's territory, and the 5 major families have all taken ruthless actions. However, in the several killings that our Yangfeng Guild has uncovered, the Blood Python Guild's president has survived, and several eternal true gods from the 5 major families have died at the hands of the Blood Python Guild's president. We have not yet investigated his true background. The grey mist figure said, as for the other Luo He, we know almost nothing about him, he is too mysterious. Who of them is stronger? We can only know after a fight, said the grey mist figure. Based on my understanding of President Blood Python, this matter will not end like this. Pavilion Master Feng had expectation in his eyes. Inside the Chaos A3 super large cave. Mo Lemon was also surprised when he saw the latest report from the City Lord's mansion. This Lio, he is actually able to suppress the Blood Python Society? The City Lord's mansion directly upgraded his rating to Class A. The City Lord's mansion will rate each eternal true god. From high to low there are 4 levels, A, B, C, and D. The highest, A, level represents the eternal true god who cannot be defeated even by sending in an army of yin-yang soldiers. This video will end here.